Hi, I'm Ashley Sellers, speech language pathologist and owner and operator of Speech, Language, and Beyond. I'm coming to you today to do a follow-up video on a video that I did about 6 months ago pertaining to apraxia of speech. Just to kind of provide you with a review of what apraxia is, it is a motor programming disorder. Now, of course, we know we all have a brain, and it controls how we function and the decisions that we make and how we operate throughout our daily routine. And that is nonetheless true when it pertains to our speech. Speech is a motor function that is controlled by the brain. Either your brain is developed in a way that when you send a signal to your brain about what you want to say, then it's going to allow for you to have the correct precision and coordination necessary in order for you to be able to produce your sounds clearly and accurately where the person that you're speaking with can understand what you say. Well, for a person who has apraxia, they have difficulty with sending that signal to their brain and allowing for what they say to come out exactly as they programmed it to in their mind. So the hallmark features that you will look for with a person with apraxia is the fact that they have distorted vowel sounds. Vowel sounds are open mouth sounds that are pretty much controlled according to where the vowel is formed in the mouth. If it's formed at the front, and if it's formed at the front, is it high or is it low? Is it formed at the back? If so, is it high or is it low? So it's pretty much changing the forward movement or the elevation or not of the oral cavity itself, but they aren't sounds that have to make contact with another articulator in order for it to be produced. So therefore, vowel sounds are very straightforward sounds that they should be able to produce correctly and imitate if they hear someone else who can do it as well. And so that's a hallmark feature. Another one is syllable production. Of course, you know, we have words that have 3, 4, or more syllables, and they should be able to maintain that syllable production when they're speaking. And a person with apraxia has a hard time doing that because it does require a certain level of coordination depending on if the sound is made, the consonant sound is made at the back of the mouth and is paired with the vowel that's made at the front of the mouth, then is paired again with another consonant that's made towards the middle of the mouth. So all of that requires coordination. So that's another hallmark feature that shows us whether or not a person has apraxia. You may also notice that they have groping mouth behaviors where they are attempting to say something and they're doing a little bit more extra with the lips than what they're supposed to in an effort to get that sound to come out. You may also notice some oral motor weaknesses where they're unable to get the lips to go up when they're supposed to at the same time without one being up and the other one being down. They may have difficulty with puckering, with bringing the lips forward. They may have limited range of motion with their lingual or tongue movements where they're unable to stick the tongue straight out and bring it back in, where they're unable to lift the tongue, make it go down, or even do a all around motion where they can lick around the entire mouth. All of that plays a role in apraxia. Like I said before in my previous video, this is a very lax definition of it, but these are key signs that you can look for. The cause for it right now is really unknown. The research is still out there for it. I also noticed that you have childhood apraxia of speech, which is what I'm focusing on, and I've noticed lately that they have one out there called acquired apraxia of speech, which is something I think that you may get after the age of 3 because something or some incident or whatever may have caused it, so you acquired it if you didn't start off with it, like a child who has a childhood apraxia of speech. So if you want more information and you're interested in knowing more, you can either Google it. I think they have their own organization formed around childhood apraxia of speech, or you can go to ASHA.org, which is American Speech and Hearing Association. You can go to their website and you can also Google it, and it'll bring you up a lot of articles and techniques and a plethora of information that you can use. Okay, so this video will not be long. I do have a lot of activities on the table. I use a really all around approach to being able to address apraxia because there's so many different things they need to work on. So what I'll be focusing on today is vowel sounds, syllable production, final consonant sounds, and CVC words where we can do the initial consonant, the middle vowel, the final consonant, and also with blends. Now, most of these activities, I can spread them over a course of sessions, or I may try to do vowels and maybe final consonant sounds in one session. So it just depends on what that client needs to work on the most. But I try to use an all-around approach, that hoping that if we work on them different things per session and it's all around, it's just not necessarily focusing on one thing over a course of sessions, that you're working on multiple things over a course of sessions, that it will bring everything together, that those skills will kind of meet somewhere in the middle and allow all of that stuff to coordinate together in order for them to be able to have clearer speech production. Okay, and so I start with vowels, and so the way that I do that is I have these puzzles here. I'm going to put this one here. They're made by Accelerations. I got them from Discount School Supply, and it's a puzzle that this one deals with the short vowel sounds. And so it looks pretty much like, I'm going to hold it up on the box because it's so ready to come apart, but it looks like this. Okay, so as you can see, this one deals with the short I sound, okay, which is it. And it has different words around it that have the it sound at the beginning. So normally what I would do is I would take this piece out of the middle and I would get them to listen to it. It. Get them to listen to it and watch my mouth, and we would try to say it at least 5 times. It. And you can have them do that for as long as you think they need to. And if they're unable to get it correctly, it's okay, because you want them to at least to know what the short I sounds like in comparison to a long I sound. So sometimes I might just focus on one vowel, and I will take this off and put it in the middle of the table, and then give them access to all of the pictures and let them choose which picture they want. So if I have, then I'll say, remember, this is it. That's the sound that you have at the beginning. So if they choose igloo, then I will get the picture from them, hold it here where they can see it. Igloo. Igloo. And I want them to listen, and then they can make an attempt to try and say the word. Now let me tell you this, because even as a therapist over time, I have had to work on this to get better at it, because we know that a person who has apraxia has multiple things going on at one time with their speech. You have to tell yourself right now, if in this part of the session, if we're working on short vowel sounds, all I want to listen for is that short vowel, because you can't do it all in one session. You have to isolate what you're working on in that moment. So they may be able to, you're listening for the I in igloo, but they may not have the gl ooh part correctly. They may say that incorrectly, but what you're focusing on right now is just a vowel sound. Now you can provide stimulation in a way that once you give them the word, you can break down the sound igloo, igloo, okay, as a way to allow them to still see the production of every sound that is within that word, but you're focusing on just making sure they can do the I in that word. Okay, if I wanted to make that activity a little bit more difficult, then I might pair that short I sound with a short E sound, which is and I would compare those sounds between each other, and we'll say, let's do 5 times. Let's do it, which is with the I. Let's do that one 5 times. So I may take those apart again, put them all in the middle, and this is a way to just increase the difficulty or complexity of the activity. And I'll hold this up. Remember, this one is I, this one is and I'll tell them to choose a picture. If they do elbow, elbow, I'll say the word and then I'll say, okay, which one does it go with? And allow them to match it together. And then we will try to say that word about 3 times. So that's basically what I would do. And it's important that you kind of start with vowels that are at the beginning of the word versus vowels that are in the middle, because sometimes that the consonant sounds at the beginning and at the end of the word can distort them from really hearing what the vowel sounds like. So you might want to always start with the beginning vowels and then take the vowels and put them in the middle. Okay, so we'll put this back in here. And if I were to continue to work on some vowels, just to show you some other ones that we have available, we have the beginning sounds for the long vowel sounds, which is the same thing, E. And as a way to get them to distinguish, you know that long vowels say their own name. So that's a way to get them to remember that. E, and have them do E, E, E. Do that so many times. You can pair it with another one like A or O, and have them distinguish between the two to make it more complex. Or you can also take the long E sound and pair it with the short E sound, and getting them to distinguish between the 2 E's, the short and the long. Okay, and you would do it the same way. And this still is made by Acceleration, and it is beginning vowel sounds for long vowel, beginning sounds for long vowel sounds. Okay, and then once you kind of get to that stage where you are ready to kind of work on vowel sounds in the middle, by that time you would probably have already started the CVC type of therapy with them, where you're getting them to focus on trying to do all sounds and blend them together. Then you can start with the puzzles like this one, where it has the long I sound, and this one is in the middle, and then it has words like bike, smile, and doing the same thing, saying the word, getting them to figure out if you're going to put 2 things together, like you may be doing the I with O, putting those 2 things together and getting them to distinguish. So that's what I would do with vowels. Okay, and so it's very possible that I would start a session with the vowels that are at the beginning of the word, and if I feel like they're ready and we've already been working on some consonant sounds, then I may go ahead and throw out there the vowel sounds that are in the middle of the word. And just to show you the other ones that I do have, this one is vowel combinations. And what's important about that, it shows them that a vowel sound doesn't necessarily have to just be one vowel. It can be 2 vowels put together where there's another sound in the middle. The E is first, there's another sound here, and then this sound may be, the I is first, and that in the beginning of the word for the first vowel, and then the E may be at the end of the word with the other consonant sounds in the middle, that it gives you that long I, but the E is silent. Okay, so it can teach that kind of skill as well. Okay, and then I might want to go through and focus on the syllable production. Okay, and I showed you this one in the previous video, and what I like about it, because if you have a child that's apraxia but they're also a language kid as well, then these puzzles are designed where you get to clap out the syllables by pulling the puzzle together, but also you get to do categories. So this one is actually for at school. I might pair it with the one that says at home, put all of those things in front of them, and then have them choose the word. And if they choose pencil, I will ask, well, where does pencil go? Do we find it at school or do we find it at home? Let them choose the one that it goes with, and then we'll say pencil, getting them to clap out the syllable, blend it together, and figure out where it goes with the puzzle. So I may also, this is what I would do also to work with syllables. Okay, and if you're interested in some more activities, I have an activity on my website called Syllable Train. Boost represents syllable in that word, and as they say the syllable, they put that caboose on the train, and I don't think that it goes past 3 syllable sounds. Okay, and the reason why I'm not trying to go in depth, I'm just trying to make it short and quick and to the point, showing you activities and a method that you can use to approach apraxia in an all-around way, rather than just isolating one particular target goal over a number of sessions, so that you can get them to try to coordinate and generalize maybe at a quicker rate. Okay, another thing that I may do once I'm finished with the vowel sounds is start with the final consonant sounds, because they do leave off those sounds. So the activity that I have for that I would use are the Weber Photophonology minimal pair cards. And depending on the age, I always try to do age appropriate sounds, because you want them to have as much success as they can. Or I start with the sounds that I know that they can do better, or have an easier time producing, because you don't want it to be more strenuous than what it already is. So of course you have row, and then row, and you stress that sound. Do another one, so, and you always put the card near your mouth so they can see it, soap. And of course you're going to make corrections along the way as you need to. Then we have pie, pipe. Okay, and then after doing so many of those, what I normally do is, once I pair them together, we'll go back and say them as a set. Row, robe, sew, soap, pie, pipe. And then I'll eliminate the card that contains that open vowel sound, and we'll go back through and get them to just say the word that has the consonant sound on the end. Robe, soap, pipe, and get them to say that so many times. Now I will tell you, I'm very thorough when it comes to how I plan a session. So if I'm focusing on age appropriate sounds when it comes to this, like if I have like a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, then I'm always going to start with the P, B, M's, and N's. I'm going to start there first. I'm going to review each one of those sounds individually before we start, either by getting them to say the P sound so many times, saying it in a syllable that has that sound on the end, and then plugging it into the activity, just so that I know I'm giving them a review and a warm-up of the sound that we're going to be working on that's at the end of the word. Okay, so that's another activity that you can use for final consonant sounds. Another one that I have, and I have to try to get really creative, and the activities that I use, but before I get to that one, I found this one it's by Carolyn Bowen, and her website, I believe, is speechlanguagetherapy.com, and it's under her freebies section. This is the final consonant inclusion, and so from this first sheet, what it does is that it kind of does that same minimal pair type thing. So you have B, beat, B, beach, pie, pipe, sue, suit. And what I would do to make this interesting, because of the squares that it has on there, I normally use these magnetic chips, because what it does, it draws them in. It allows them to, so we're doing the activity, so we're doing the activity here. Then I'm saying we're going to start with this one here. Watch my mouth. B. Get them to say it, hand it to them, and then they will cover it up on the page. Then I'll say beat. And they'll say beat, and then we'll go back. B, beat, to get them to say the entire thing. And what happens is, once they kind of fill this sheet up with the chips, then they get the fun thing of taking them up, with the one. So that's another activity that I would also use to target final consonant deletion, so they can add in those final consonant sounds. And another one that I love, kind of put two activities in one. So basically, we're going to use this final sounds worksheet. This was given to me by somebody, okay? And so the final sounds that we're going to concentrate on now are T and D. So on my website, I have a phoneme, I think I called it a phoneme chart, where I have all the consonant sounds in the English language in a chart. You can cut them out, put Velcro on them, so that you can use it for activities such as this. So if we're going to work on T, at the end of the word, we're going to make the T sound 5 times. we're going to say T in a final syllable. At, eat, oat, oot, okay? That way. And then once we do that, I have a puzzle here, okay? These puzzles have the D and the T sound on the end of them. So I would normally take all the ones that have words on them. They will already be taken apart. And then I would have the ones that contain the pictures out in front of them for them to choose any picture that they may want, okay? So for example, if they chose kite, I would go ahead and find the one that has kite and let them put it together. And then I'll say, okay, here is kite. It has a T sound at the end, kite. And so I'll put this in front of them. And then I'll say, well, let's use our chart to help us. We're going to hold chi until we get to the T. Kite, 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 as a way to assist them in being able to put that sound on the end. And I normally probably would even take the word here, put it there like that, and let them travel from that to the next sound. All right, so we'll do another one like that. And so this is where I said, you know, sometimes I have to find really creative ways for them to be able to work on a target. So if they chose the word ant, we would do the same thing. Let them put it together. Ant, showing them the word. I'll say it a few times, and then we're going to travel to the ending sound. Ant, 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 and put the ending sound on there. Okay, and then as a final way to work on ending sounds, which this deals with T, I also found this one, I think, on speakingofspeech.com, which is the G initial sequencing, but I'm not really focusing on the G. I'm focusing on that T sound at the end of the word. So you have the word go and goat, and I would still take those same chips that I used before and allow them to cover up the picture as we go. Go, 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 goat, 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 go, go, goat, goat. And then it goes goat, goat, go, go, goat, go, goat, go. And it makes them coordinate, going from having an open vowel sound to having a closed vowel sound, or having an open syllable word to having a closed word that has the consonant sound that's on the end. So that's the way to get them to coordinate, going between open vowel, closed, open syllable, closed syllable, open syllable, closed syllable. So they get the feeling of, this is what it feels like when there's not a consonant sound on the end of the word. This is what it feels like when it is, and this is what my mouth or my tongue has to do to get to that ending sound. All right, so it works on coordination. Okay, and then once I feel like they're ready to kind of attack, because one thing you want to do, you want to present things to them first in a coordinated, organized way. So I always try to start with sounds that are made at the front of the mouth with the lips, then from the lips to the alveolar sounds, to the alveolar sounds to the palatal sounds, from the palatal sounds to the velar sounds. I try to do it in a coordinated way where we're going from the front of the mouth to the back, the front of the mouth to the back. And then once I feel like we've done that for so long, then I try to get uncoordinated, because you can't always control your sentences in a way where you're going to say, I'm going to say only the front sounds, only the back sounds, only the middle sounds. Sometimes you can't do that. So you need to throw an activity in there that's going to shake them up a little bit and allow them to be prepared for sounds that don't appear to be in a pattern. And so these little cards here kind of provide that. Okay, so you have bit, bite, bit, bite. So you see where you're kind of going from that short I to the long I. You have a B at the beginning of the word, you have a T at the end, and then you go from there to bat and butt. Okay, how those sounds are not necessarily coordinated, but it allows them to work on the coordination, because they never know where the sound is going to appear. You go from hide, bed, weed, feed, wed, feed, bead, lead. You kind of throw in those CVC words like that. Hush, tide. Bill, feel. Wail, pale. Suck, wake. Bake, take. So some of those vowel sounds or the word families were kind of in there, but it still was shaking them up because you didn't know what consonant sound was going to be at the beginning or what consonant sound was going to be on the end. Sometimes they would change up the vowel sound in the middle from a short one to a long one. So you always want to throw in activities like this one that will still allow them, you're not presenting it to them in an organized way, but it's allowing them to work on the organization of their coordination so that they can better put sounds together and become more precise in how they do things. And then lastly, and this is what I do. I know sometimes with our children that are like between 3 and 5, we don't really like to work on blends with them. But from my professional opinion and standpoint, if it's a child that already has apraxia and we've already had to work really, really hard to even solidify the age appropriate sounds, we already know that this sound is going to give, these blends are going to give them trouble. And instead of allowing them to turn 5 and 6 and 7 and still have problems with them, once you get them past this stage of being able to produce vowel sounds correctly and distinguish between them, being able to maintain the syllable shape of a word that contains more than one syllable, being able to maintain the CVC shape of a word where they can say the consonant, the vowel, and the consonant. Once you get them past that and you know that they're doing well with that, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and move into the blends, because now you're taking 2 consonant sounds, putting them together and putting a vowel in the middle, and that becomes a little bit harder for them. And so an activity that I normally use to help out with that, for example, I have these magnetic word tiles. So let's say we're starting off with FL. First I'm going to teach each sound individually. F, L, 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 L. We will make each sound 5 times, use each sound individually in a vowel, and then come and bring this sound together. Fl, 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 fl. Allowing them to become comfortable with that. Then we will move on to do syllables. Fl, a, fillet. Fl, e, flee. I, fly, excuse me. Flow. Flew. So I broke it down and I blended it back together. And we would do that so many times until I felt like they got to a point where they're solid in it, it's established, and then I would kind of move on to words. So they have the word families in here too. Ick, flick. Ick, flick. And let them say that so many times. Ing, fling, fling. Okay, here are a few more I have over here. Flunk, flunk, flunk. And then the last one, flash, flash, flash. Flash. Okay, so I hope that this video was helpful to you. I hope that you understand the approach that I'm using. I am not saying that this is an approach that everyone has to use. I'm showing you the way that I do it pertaining to the type of clients that I see walking through my door and what their needs are, and I'm just sharing the activities, and I'm also just sharing the method that I use with you, and you can take it and critique it and make it your own. I would like to hear from you as well about some suggestions or some things that you could, ideas that you could also give me that I probably have not thought about. And before I say that, there's another puzzle. I will pair this activity with the FL up with the puzzle to give them another opportunity to be able to practice saying that in a word while putting it together, and it's another one of those acceleration puzzles. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please tell your friends about my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.